All right, guys, you ready to fire away?
Hey, Coach, I know you're not a numbers guy, but I am. And I'm looking at NC State. They top almost every category on team defense, but you look at the individual leaders and you can't find an NC State guy there. So what are they doing?
They're really sound. I am a number. It's not that I'm not a numbers guy, Rich. The numbers that I look at are scoring offense and scoring defense. I just don't like to get wrapped up in the yards because at the end of the day, I worry about scoring offense, scoring defense, turnovers, penalties, and the little things. If you can score 48 points and only get 250 yards, I'll take that. Just want to win games. They're really sound on defense. They don't give up a lot of explosive plays. They tackle really well. They got a really good, solid scheme. They keep it in front. I think they're coached really well. And the thing that jumps off the tape to me is just how hard they play. I talked about their safety yesterday. Even when we weren't getting ready to play them, when I turned on the tape to watch, some crossover tape, that guy just flies around the field. So they play hard. They got a great scheme. They're really well coached, and they got good players. So that's what I got for you there. Hold on, guys. I got this error or something up. All right.
I'm clear.
I'm back.
Coach, what do you see from their running back duo? They've got a couple of really, really solid rushers. What do you see from them, and how do you control them?
8 and 7, big, strong, run violent. They try to run through people. They make a lot of people miss tackles. They have a lot of yards after contact. Again, I think it starts up front. I talked about their O-line yesterday, but they're such a good complement for how they play football. They're big, they're strong, they're patient, especially in their zone scheme. They kind of wait for things to open up, and then they go hit it, and they run violent. Probably the most violent running backs that we've seen. They definitely made more people miss tackles than any backs we've seen all year. They got 2 good ones. So I hope that answers your question, Emma.
Coach, building off of that, when you have backs that are that big and they run that violent, how do you tell your guys to tackle them? If you tackle them too high, they'll run through you. If you tackle them too low, they'll step over you. Like, how do you kind of tell your guys how to aim for that?
Well, I think tackling just in general, I don't teach it much differently based on the back we're playing. Well, maybe sometimes you do, but it just depends where you are, right? If you're in a phone booth type tackle, you want to put your shoulder pad through his sternum. If you can't get your body across, you got to go wrap and roll and be violent. It just depends on the approach and where you are in relationship to the ball carrier when you have to tackle that guy. But for these guys, for example, though, you better get multiple hats to the ball, and it better not be arm tackles or they'll run through them. So it's going to be about the approach. It's going to be about multiple people getting there, and it's going to be about fundamentals and technique on how we teach tackling. But I'm not going to reinvent how we tackle based on who we play. And now there'll be a tackling plan on the best ways we think we can get these guys down. And then we'll talk about that. We've been talking to the players about that.
Coach, a lot of the times when a team has a bye, the focus is on how you're keeping the team ready for that next game. But with NC State also having a bye, how are you looking to expose that on Saturday, the fact that they haven't played in 2 weeks either?
I don't think it's any different. I think you take the bye week, at least for us, and you focus on getting guys healthy. And then you take a look at what you've done really well and what you haven't done well. And if you haven't done some stuff well, you throw it out. I'll just talk defense, for example, right? Like I usually do. If things aren't working, throw it out. If things are working really well, you're probably doing it a little bit more. And then we look back to what we had in the install and training camp and pull stuff out that we haven't shown yet for one reason or another. Try to oil that up, have some other stuff for the second half of the season, work on fundamentals and technique. As you break an opponent down during a bye week, you could get all the tendencies, right? So Rich will like this because this is numbers. We get so many numbers and so many different variables that will tell us, there's a very high probability that they're going to do this in this certain situation. Their tendencies are this based on this formation, based on this down and distance, based on this hash mark, based on the field zone. And you look really hard at that. But during a bye week, you got to be smart, because during a bye week, they're going to look at it. Because normally in a game week, you don't have time to go back and self-scout yourself that hard, because if you do that, you're not going to use the time to get ready for your next opponent, right? So we obviously know they self-scouted themselves just like we did. So they're going to try to break certain tendencies. So you got to be really careful this week on feeding your guys all these tendencies that they're probably going to break some. And as the game goes on and we figure out what they're going with, we got to educate our guys on that. So I hope that answered the question for you.
Coach, along those lines, analytics and numbers are taking over in pretty much every sport. How important is it to you, or how much do you, coach from gut, or how much do you balance, the numbers and your gut feeling? And just kind of take me through that process a little bit.
I look at the numbers. I look at them really hard. I mean, fourth down, field position, whether to go for it, when to go for two. You look really hard at when to call timeouts, right? Those things are really important. But then you also got to know what your plan to win is, right? Is it an aggressive plan to win, or is it a little bit less aggressive? But you need to figure that out and calculate it. So if the chart says on 4th and 5, that's the aggressive, go for it. But your mindset isn't to be that aggressive in the game, then you got to figure it out before the game starts, what you want to do. And on my call sheet, I have all those. So I'm not just guessing. Now, a lot of it is I get a feel for the game and how are we playing? How's the defense playing? How's the offense playing? So if the chart says to go for it on 4th and 5, but I really don't love the way it looks and I feel good about how our defense is playing, we might punt it. And there's so much, there's a lot of feel and gut that goes into it. But I'm definitely going to use the analytics as well. We could have we can talk about this for a while because there's a lot of interesting stuff when you really do study it. And I'm definitely learning and I think I'm getting better at it. But there's no right or wrong answer. A lot of times guys get criticized for going for it and certain down and distances when they shouldn't, because that was their plan to win. And they had a feel about their team and you go with it. And sometimes that's hard because you don't get it and everybody thinks you made a mistake. But when you're the guy calling it and it has to happen like that, it's a lot different than when I used to sit on the couch and say, why didn't you go for it? Right? Kev, you got to make those decisions fast. So you better have a plan.
Jeff, a couple of injury questions. One, just checking in on Tyler. What was his availability today? And two, what about Kobe White? I know he didn't play against Clemson with a knee injury. What's his update?
Kobe practiced today. So we'll see how he fits into the plan for the week. But he was practicing. Tyler did a little bit more, ran around a little bit more. That one's just going to be how it feels. I know yesterday, just listening to you guys interview our players, it was almost like Jack was 100% going to start, and I'm perfectly okay if he does. I would not count Tyler Vrabel out from not playing. So we'll see. He is, like I said yesterday, he's a very, very tough kid.
Jeff, just looking at NC State this week, do you guys feel like there are some similarities between you guys and them and the way you guys approach things, the way you play?
I hope people would say that, I'm complimenting them on how hard they play and how physical they are. I'm hoping that they would say the same thing. I don't know how they view us. I think you're going to see two teams run the ball, but you guys know there's been times when we throw it 50 times too. So I'm not sure. That's a good question.
You mentioned yesterday that, when you were a young coach that you visited with Dave Doran. I'm just curious, how much over your career have you either learned from other coaches? Have you ever, adopted things that you've seen from them, or is it your take on what maybe you've seen from them?
No, I've learned from a ton of coaches. Constantly visiting with coaches, asking questions. I've learned from players. I truthfully, I learned more from some players than I've ever learned from coaches. You talk about 3 deep and what corners you're looking at. I spent more time picking Richard Sherman's brain in my meeting rooms in my office while we hung out, just to see how he saw it, because he played it and he played it better than anyone ever played the game. Rondé Barber's a guy, picked his brain on how to play nickel. That guy, I know I was coaching him, but shoot, that guy is one of the best nickels of all time. He'll be a future Hall of Famer. John Lynch, I was with him at the Niners. Are you kidding me? I'm not going to ask him certain questions on how to play safety. Another Hall of Famer. I've been really fortunate, watching Revis press and wear your eyes, wear your hands. I've been so lucky to be around good players and good coaches. And so by no means have I invented anything in football. I try to take what I've learned from people and develop my own philosophy and what I want to put together. Just trying to do the best I can.
Coach, how's that working out on the deep ball right now?
Say that again.
No, how is Dennis working out on the deep ball, throwing the deep ball?
I think it's working out pretty well. He hit the one He hit the one in UMass at the end of the game. You know, he almost hit those in Clemson. I got total confidence that'll make him. Rich, I actually spent some time down with the offense today, so I know that will make you happy, which is rare. But I watched him throw some balls today, and he looked really good, really good. So I think we got a great plan, and I'm hopeful he'll connect on him. And I believe he will, Rich. I believe in him totally throwing those deep balls, which is a huge part of our system.
I was just going to ask about the press man coverage because you guys played a lot of that against Clemson, and you're facing another big dynamic group of wide receivers and tight ends this week. Is that something you think you'll go back to, or is it a different matchup in your eyes?
I think we're going to mix it all in, whether we play zone, whether we play off man, whether we come down and bump them. You know, each game, it's game to game. You know, there's certain games we press a lot more. There's certain games where we played more cover two. Kind of go into those games, you watch it unfold, you get a feel, you talk about it on the sideline and see what's working. The only reason really in that Clemson game we started to press more, it was working. And that's one of those gut feel things that aren't analytic related. So I gave you another thing there, Kev. Anybody else got any questions?
Coach, real quick, not to switch it to baseball, but obviously the Red Sox are moving on in the postseason, but I know you're a Jersey guy. Do you feel any type of way about that?
Yeah, I'm a Boston guy now, man. Come on. I mean, this is my home. Let's go Red Sox. You guys good?
We're good.
All right, everybody. I'll see you in a few days. Have a great couple days.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.